Work out 1/56 minus 2/3 divided by 3/4. Since we have multiple operations here, we need to make use of BODMAS. So first we need to divide and then subtract. So when we divide 2/3 by 3/4, what do we get? So we change this operation of division to multiplication. So the first fraction remains the same and the second fraction has to be turned to its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. So now this is 2/4 is 8 and 3/3 is 9. So 2/3 divided by 3/4 is 8/9. And the first part is 1/56. You need to take away 8, 9 from it. So either you can convert this mixed number into improper or you can split it in this way. It's as good as saying 1/56 is 1 plus 5/6. And then you take away 8 nines. Now I'm going to operate on only these fractions to see what happens here. So 6 and 9 is there in the denominator. To make them common, we make use of the LCM here. So the LCM of 6 and 9 is 18. So 6 3s is 18 and 9 2s is 18. So I do the same thing for the numerators. So now the fraction is 6 3s is 18. I'm writing as a common denominator. And then 5 3s is 15. Take away 16. And you have a 1 which needs to be added to this later. So 1 plus 15 take away 16 is a minus 1/18. So this is 1 minus 1/18. So when you're adding a negative number is equivalent to saying you're subtracting this number from the first number. So from 1, you take away 1/18. What are you left with? What are you left with then? So it's 1 can be written as 18/18. So from 18 you are taking away 1. You are left with 17/18. So that's the answer. Work out the size of an exterior angle of a regular hexagon. A hexagon has 6 sides. Since it's regular, all the sides will be equal and all the angles will be equal. You have to find the size of an exterior angle. We know that all the exterior angles will add up to 360. To find each of the exterior angle, you need to divide it with number of sides of the polygon. So we divide it by 6. 6 goes in 36 6 times. So that's a 60 degrees. So each exterior angle is 60 degrees. Use your answer to part A to write down the size of an interior angle of a regular hexagon. So now if a regular hexagon has sides like this and this is the exterior angle 60 degrees. When you extend any one side, this part of the angle is the exterior. The interior angle is its counterpart for the supplementary angles because it's a straight line angle. They both add up to 180 degrees. So this has to be a 120 because 120 plus 60 makes it 180 degrees. Questions 2, 3, 4, 5 and even 6, 7. They are covered in part even 8 also. So they are covered in foundation paper. I'll provide you with the link. You can check the video there. I'm going to do question 9. So we have this equation. You have to solve it to get the value of x. So first I will try to bring the x terms together. So we add 7x on both sides to have 7x plus 3x. That is a 10x. And then we have 9 here and you take away 12 from both sides to get minus 12 here. So that gives me 9 take away 12, that's negative 3. So x is minus 3 divided by 10. So the answer is negative 3/10 or you can write it as negative 0.3. A straight line has an equation y is 4x plus 9. Write down the gradient of the line. So the gradient is the slope of the line, which is the coefficient of the term x. When the coefficient of y is 1, then the coefficient of x tells you the gradient of the line. So here the coefficient of x is 4, the gradient is 4. Casey says the graph of y is 4x plus 9 passes through the point 3, 23. Is Casey correct? Show how you decide. Now, to know if a line is passing through a point, the point has to satisfy the equation of a line. Now, what do I mean by that? If I substitute this point, so taking 3 as the x value and 23 as the y value, and substitute it, the left hand and the right hand of the equation has to be equal. So y is 23, so I substitute 23 in place of y, and 4 times x is 3 plus 9. So 4 3s is 12, 12 plus 9 is 21. So I'm getting 23 equals 21, which is absurd. They cannot be equal. So which shows that this point is not on this line, or this line is not passing through the point. So we will say no, she's not correct, because we can write it like this. 23 is not equal to 4 times 3 plus 9. Or you can say 3 comma 23 does not satisfy. You can write any one of this. Satisfy the given equation. A bag only contains green, red, blue, and yellow discs. Ola carries out an experiment. She picks one disc at a time from the bag, records its color, and then returns the disc to the bag. When she has finished the experiment, Ola works out the relative frequency of each color. Some of her results are shown in the table. So she has green, red, blue, and yellow, for which she has recorded only for green and red, and their relative frequencies are recorded. So relative frequency is like the experimental probability. So when you're performing an experiment, like practically, then how many times she is expecting to have green from the total number of the discs in the bag. So that's the relative frequency. Now it says that the relative frequency of the yellow discs are 3 times the relative frequency of the blue discs. Although we don't have the exact value, but there is this connection given that the yellow discs is 3 times the blue discs. So if I have x number of blue discs, then how many yellow discs we can have? There will be 3 times more. So no, it's not the number of discs, it's the relative frequency. So the relative frequency of yellow discs is 3 times more than the relative frequency of the blue discs. In total, there are 2000 discs in the bag. Use this information to find an estimate for the total number of green and yellow discs that are in the bag. So we need to find how many green and yellow discs are there first, and then we need to add them together. So with the information we have here, let's start with the green ones. It says that the relative probability is 0.35, which means there are 35 from 100. But they say that the total discs are 2000. So from 2000, how many will be there? We'll tell you the exact number of green discs in the bag. So how do you go from 100 to 2000? You need to do it like times 20, right? So 100 times 20 gives you 2000. So that the numerator also needs to be times with 20. So that will be 2, 5, 10, so 700. So we get to know that there are 700 green discs in the bag. From this you can find the red ones also, but we don't require it. We just need to know the yellow ones. Now the yellow, the relative frequency for yellow is 3x. But we have to find the value of x first. So what we can do is, we have all these relative frequencies, they need to add up to 1. So 0.35 plus 0.25 plus x plus 3x, that's the 4x, should be equal to 1, because that's the total probability of all the events happening here. So this is 5, 10, so that's the 60%, right? 0.60 plus 4x is 1. Then 4x is 1, take away 0.6, to give 0.4. Then x will be 0.4 divided by 4. That's a 0.1. So the relative frequency for drawing a blue disk is 0.1. Then this is 3 times this, so it will be 0.3. The number of yellow disks can be found using this information. So 0.3 is the relative frequency for drawing a yellow disk. So this is equal to saying 3 out of 10. So you have like every 3 disks are there in yellow color out of 10 disks. But we have total 2000 disks. From them, how many yellow disks will be there? So to go from 10 to 2000, you need to times it with 200. So 200 times 10 gives you 2000. So you need to do the same for the numerator to get the answer as 600. So these are the number of yellow disks we get. So we have green disks, we have yellow disks. So the total disks will be green and yellow, right? So 700 plus 600, that is 1300. So the answer is 1300. Explain why your estimate may not be reliable. Well, we are discussing about relative frequency or the experimental probability, where we are assuming the person is performing the experiment like many times. But in real, this may or may not happen. So by making the assumption that the person has performed the experiment a lot of times, we have arrived at this answer. But if that's not the case, then the answer may be slightly different. So here we will say our estimate may not be reliable because, what's the name of the person here? Ola. Because Ola must have performed, Ola may or may not have performed the experiment many times. Now we don't know what many means here, so like as many times as so that she gets this as the answer. A housing estate is built on a triangular piece of land. There are 3,951 people living on the estate. Work out an estimate of the population density of the estate in people per kilometer square. So we get the density by finding the population over some area. So we need to first find out the area of this triangle, or in other words, we have to estimate the area of the triangle. So area will be half times base times height. So the base is 5.03 kilometers. Since I'm working with estimates, I can estimate this value to its one significant figure to like 5 kilometers. And the height, the perpendicular distance is 1.96, which can also be estimated to like 2 kilometers. So this cancels out to get the area 5 kilometers square. Now I have the population, I have the area, so I can find the density, which is, again I can estimate the population also to one significant figure to get like 4,000 people living in an area of like 5 kilometers square. So this gives me 5 eighths is 40. So that's 800 is the density of people per kilometer square. Write 4 over 11 as a recurring decimal. So a recurring decimal is a non-terminating, so a decimal which will not end, but it repeats itself. It follows some pattern. So we need to find out what that decimal is, which is equivalent to 4 over 11. So we divide 4 by 11. Since 4 is less than 11, we need to take a decimal and then take a 0 here. So 11 goes in 43 times, which is 33. So when you subtract them, you get 7. Since this is less than 11, we have a decimal, we can take 0. 11 goes in 76 times, which is 66. So when you take away, you have 4. Then we take a decimal to have 40. 11 threes is 36. Now here you see, 33. So we get 6 here, 7 here. And it keeps on repeating. You see the number gets repeated again and again. So the answer for this is 0.36, and then there will be another 36. It keeps on repeating forever and ever. So you can write it like this. So where it shows that 36, the decimal part 36 is repeating. The expected value of a painting, pound P, is given by the formula 2500 times 1.2 raised to n, where n is the number of years after it was bought and is between 0 and 4. So that's between 0 and 4 years. Write down the value of the painting when it was bought. That means it wants you to find the initial value of the painting in the beginning when there is like 0 years. So this is 0, then this whole turns into 1. So the initial painting value is, the initial value of the painting is 2500. Write down the annual percentage increase in the expected value of painting. So the annual percentage increase is given by this multiplier. So you get that multiplier by adding 1 to some rate which is in terms of decimal. So that's 1.2. So what is R? You take away 1 from 1.2 to get 0.2. So 0.2 is the rate in terms of decimal. In terms of a percent, you usually write the rate as a percentage. So this you need to times it by 100 to get 20% as the rate. The table shows the expected value of the painting n years after it was bought. So there is this table where it shows for the first year the price was £3,000. It's expected to be 3,000. Second year it's expected to be 3,600, and likewise here. So here you see it's like increasing exponentially using this equation here, where the initial price is 2,500, and with a 20% increasing rate, it's going up by these values. Now on the page opposite, you need to draw a suitable graph to show the expected value of the painting n years after it was bought. So we need to show this information using a suitable graph, probably a exponential curve we can do. So the initial value was 2,500. For the first year it's 3,000. Let me write all these values here. So initial was 2,500, then 3,000 in the first year, 3,600 in the second year, then 4,320 and 5,184 for the next years. So we need to draw, first we need to mark these points. So for 0 years, that is the initial price was 2,500. Let me first figure out how much is each box here. So this is 2,000, 50, and then 100, 150. Well, each of them is like 50 pounds. So the next is 3,000. For first year it's 3,000 goes in here. Then 3,600 for the second year. So 35 is here. 3,550, and then 36 is here. Third year is 4,320. So 43. This is 4,250, 4,253, and then 20 will be slightly above this, so somewhere here. And then 5,184 is for the fourth year. 5,050, 100, 150, and then this is 200, so it has to be in between here somewhere. Now we join them like freehand to make a smooth curve. So here we go. And then an art collector correctly works out 2,500 times 1.2 raised to 10, that is for 10 years. as 15,479. They say the expected value of the painting 10 years after it was bought was 15,479. What assumption has the art collector made? Well, to get to this answer, they must have assumed that it's increasing at the same rate, that is 1.2, the multiplier is 1.2, or with the rate of 20% annual increase in the percentage. So making sure that with that assumption, you can get to this answer. But that's an assumption where the price might have increased slightly above or below, or they can be a different number as well. So here the assumption was the percent increase is 20%. With this assumption, we can get to this price. But if this number changes, then you will get a different answer there. The diagram shows a rectangle OPQR and a circle, center O, which passes through Q. So there is this point Q on the circumference. OR is 6 centimeters and RQ is 8. So these are the dimensions of the rectangle. You have to find the circumference of a circle. So circumference of the circle is 2 pi r. Now to get to know the circumference, you need to know the radius of the circle. We don't have the radius, but we have this information which can help us to get to the radius. So we have this rectangle and the radius will be this distance from O to Q because it's a point on the circumference. So OQ is the radius of the circle. If we can somehow find this length OQ, we can get to the circumference. So how do you get OQ? Since this is a rectangle, this angle is 90 degrees. So the triangle ORQ is right angled. If it's right angled, then we can make use of the Pythagoras theorem. So using Pythagoras theorem, you can find the hypotenuse of this triangle, which is OQ. So using Pythagoras theorem, OQ is under root the sum of the other two, the sum of the squares of the other two legs, which is 6 square plus 8 square. So this is 36 plus 64. So this is 10, 10. So that's 0 and 10. So that's 100. And then the square root of 100 is plus or minus 10, but we are dealing with the length, the radius, so that has to be a positive. Is it centimeters? Yeah. So that's a centimeters. The radius, we got OQ, which is the radius. Now with this radius, I can find the circumference. So circumference is 2 pi times the radius is 10. It wants the answer in terms of pi, so the answer will be 2 times 10 is 20 pi centimeters. OAB is a sector of a circle with center O and radius 8 centimeters, and the angle AOB is x degrees. The arc length is 2 pi. Find the sector, the area of the sector, give your answer in terms of pi. Now to find the area of this sector, we need to first know the angle here. Now how to get the angle? So we know there is this part of the arc which is 2 pi, which is out of total the arc length. The total arc length for the circle will be like the circumference of the complete circle, which is 2 pi r, and r is 8 here. So the arc length over the total circumference times 360 will give me the value of x. So I can cancel 2 pi here, and 8 goes in 360 how many times? So 8, 3 is 28, 4 is 32, and then 5s. So x is 45 degrees. So now that we have the angle, we can find the area of the sector. So area of the sector is the angle over 360 times pi r square. So angle is 45 over 360 times pi r is 8 square. So what we can do here is, okay, we can write this 360 in terms of pi. So, or we can, okay, it wants the answer in terms of pi. So let that be. So if we have 45 and 360, we can simplify the fraction here. 5 nines is 45. 5 sevens, or 9 fives is 35. 45. I can take 9 fives is 45. 9 suppose is 30, 6 and 0, 5, 8. And then there is 8 and there is 8 squares. So one of the 8 goes off here. So we have the final answer here is 8 pi. Since it wants the answer in terms of pi, it's just 8 pi centimeters square. In the diagram below, the shaded region is a parallelogram. The parallelogram can be identified by 4 inequalities. So these are the 4 lines which is making up the parallelogram. 2 of the inequalities are given here, where one of them is y is greater than or equal 6 and y is greater than or equal x. So this is the equation. This is corresponding to the equation y is 6 and y is x, which is given here. So this is the equation y is x. The equation y is 6. When I take the inequality, I am considering only the part which is greater than y6. So above the line and greater than or equal x. So it's so this line you have to take the other part here, right? Now we have to figure out, write down the other 2 inequalities that identify the parallelogram. So we need to figure out what is the other 2 lines which is making up the parallelogram. So if we can figure out the equations, from that we can find the inequality. Now we can see this equation, this line is parallel to y equals x, but it's been shifted 4 units above here. So here you see it's crossing the y axis at 4. So this equation has to be like y is x plus 4. So from this equation it's being transformed to y is x plus 4. It's parallel. These 2 lines are parallel. And the one above here is, it's crossing the y-axis at 9. So this equation has to be y equals 9. So now the inequalities will be, since we see this region is shaded to the right side of this, right? So this has to be y is greater than or equal x plus 4, and for y equals 9 the region is shaded below this, so y has to be less than, but then this is a dotted line, so this has to be strictly less than 9, right? All right. Work out the area of the parallelogram. You need to show your working. Now to know the area of a parallelogram, we have the formula like base times the height. The height is the perpendicular distance. It has to be like this straight line so that this angle is 90. If we can figure out this length and the length of one of the bases, either this or this, if we find this base length, then you have to find the perpendicular height from here. But since we are using this as a perpendicular height, we need to find the length of the base here. So if we can find out what is this height, here we see we are going from 6 to 9. So we are going up by 3 units. The height has to be 3 units here. Now what about the base length? How much is the distance from here to here? Somehow we need to figure out its x coordinates. If we can find what was the x coordinate here and here, if we subtract them, we get to know the distance from this point to this point. Now we know this line, which is y is x plus 4, is crossing or meeting y equals 6 here. So if we can make these 2 equations, y is x plus 4 and y equals 6. combine them because they are meeting at this point, and we are finding the coordinates, or the x coordinate to be more specific for this point. We have to substitute y as 6 in this equation. The 6 is x plus 4. From this you get to know x is 6, take away 4, that is 2. So this x coordinate is 2 and the y is 6 here. What about this x coordinate? It's this point is crossing the line y equals x and y equals 6. So y equals x and y equals 6. So substitute 6 in place of y to get x is also equals to 6. So we get the x coordinate 6 and the y coordinate is also 6 here. So from 2 to 6, how much distance have we covered on the x-axis? So you're going up 4 units, you're moving ahead 4 units. So we are moving like 4 units here. So we know the base is 4 units and the height was 3 units. So this is 3 units. So the area of the parallelogram is 12 square units. We don't have any specific units, so we write it as square units. A farmer grows pumpkins. The farmer records the masses m kilograms of 80 of their pumpkins. The table shows the results. So for this interval, that is the mass between 0 and 5 kg, there are 10 of them, and between 5 and 10 kgs there are 22, and so on. Complete the cumulative frequency table. So when we write the cumulative, we add every next value to the previous one. So here we have 10 for the first value. The next is you add 10 to 22 to get 32. For the next, you need to add 28 to 32 to get 60. And the next, you add 14 to 60 to get to the next, where that is 74. And then you add 6 to it to get 80. So there were 80 total pumpkins. Now draw the cumulative frequency graph to represent these results. Now we have to draw the cumulative starting at for the 10th for the 5 kg is 10. So that's between. So here we have 10. Okay, since we can also use since the 0 kilograms. There are no pumpkins with 0 kilograms. So you can start from here, from 0 point as the first point here. Next, for 10, it's 32. So that's 20, between 20 and 30, 32. So is each one of them 2, 4, 8, 10. So this is 32 is here. And then 15, we have 60 of them. 20 is 74. So 70 is midway. 72, 74. And the 80 goes in here. And then we join them again using like freehand curve to get a frequency curve here. We get like slightly S-shaped curve. Something like that. You can be a little more precise. Yeah. Now what do we have to do here? Write down the upper quartile of the mass of the 80 pumpkins. The upper quartile is the 3/4 of the frequency. So the 3/4 of total frequency is 80. So that has to be 60th, at the 60th frequency. Here we go. So for this value, what is its corresponding mass? I have to use a straight line here. So its corresponding mass here will be 15. 15 kg is the upper quartile. The farmer picks a pumpkin at random. Find an estimate for the probability that the pumpkin has a mass greater than 18 kg. So what is the probability that the mass of a pumpkin is 18 kg when he picks any pumpkin at random? So if we take a mass which is above 18, so where is 18 here for the masses? So 15, that has to be midway between 15 and 20, 17 and half. So 18 has to be the next value here, right? So if we connect this point on the graph here like this, then what is its corresponding y value will tell you something about the probability. So before that, you need to find what is this value here. So that looks something like it's in between 60 and 80. So can I assume it as 70 maybe? So if this is 70, how many are there in between 80 and 70? There are 10 of them, right? So 10 out of a total 80 pumpkins gives you the probability of picking a pumpkin which has a mass greater than 18 kg. So here I'm getting the probability as 1/8.